All right, we are live, and ready to rock and roll this evening. Hey, everybody, Comics by Night. It's I don't have like a fun call sign like I do a comic book look. It's John on Demand at Rainbow Live. It's Johnny Five. Here though, I don't know. I mean, the Comic Keeper. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's episode 2. Who knows? And you guys might be a little confused. I'm hanging out with one of the rock stars that's in the intro video that we're about to witness. And also, my co-host from Rainbow Live, Casey the Illusionist, is joining us this evening on this fine Halloween evening. Shout out to Casey for tuning in tonight, and we're gonna have some fun with a really fun mini run that occurred this month. So we will get into that. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we have this really bomb introduction that Casey and I are both in. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll that, and then we're gonna get to the show. All right, here we go. Wait, maybe. I can do this. Dude, I don't know about you, Casey, but that is always so fun to tune in and check out.
Was that version A or B?
So that's version B. I'm starting version A for the later half. I wanted to lift that up because you're definitely the rock star in that scene. Wow, right off the gate, prompt on Halloween night. Chad is checking in with us. Hey, Chad, thank you so much for tuning in, and happy Halloween to you as well. Woo! You know, one of the things that the show intro definitely, well, visually we're making up for it here, right, with that bomb video. But Casey, you guys got to tune into Rainbow Live the past couple of weeks. Casey's been on one with these seasonal theme opening songs that he does, especially at the start of October. I remember losing my mind laughing. It was the funniest thing ever because you were just like, woo. That's pretty fantastic.
Now we're getting into Turkey month, so
Turkey month. All right. Well, we'll see what we can come up with there. But really quick, just to bring people up to speed, maybe that aren't familiar with you, Casey. So Casey was definitely one of the rock stars in the video. Casey, really quick, for this channel, how did you get into comics? Why comic books?
Actually, for the most part, when it came to comic books, I only really collected when I was younger, mostly Star Trek ones, which is ironic for the ones that we're doing tonight. But yeah, it was Star Trek ones that I found at what was actually Sunshine in Brandon, which is now actually Lewis. Or it wasn't Sunshine, it was actually Jubilee is what it used to be called. Now it's Sunshine / Lewis. So whatever they had in their multimedia section, which was movies, video games, stuff like that, then I had they had comic books and stuff like that. So I picked up stuff there, and it just was awesome to pick up Star Trek comic books from there. And that's what got me started in those.
Dude, heck yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. And what about Star Trek? Since we might be going into that galaxy tonight, what's going on with that? How did you get into that?
Actually, that's an interesting story as well. So with my parents, it was mostly like you actually had two different sides of the sci-fi spectrum there. My dad was huge into Star Wars. My mom was huge into Star Trek because of growing up with the original series. My dad growing up with the original trilogy for the Star Wars. And so just having that aspect of from both sides of the parents got me into that whole sci-fi. And then that introduced me into others like Babylon 5 and stuff like that as well when I started getting a little bit older. And so Star Trek and then the movies were just really great for me. And nowadays into like the things that I just like what I talk to you about, just some of the things I just wish that we could uphold in our world, which is like we figured out how to live together in peace and explore and stuff like that. So
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And that some of that actually, a little bit of that comes into the dialogue in these books tonight, which is really cool too. Without further ado, I suppose we should probably, get the old books on stage here and see how
right.
we do. What's up?
No, go ahead. I said,
Oh,
yep.
I thought I wasn't sure if you had something else.
Nope,
Okay.
nope. You're
Okay.
good.
So with that, we'll go ahead and bring whoa, that's a whole lot of me. We don't need that. But we need the books. And so I wanted to really highlight those. You guys shout out to IDW for putting out not one, not two or three, but 4 issues of Holo-Ween. And we were definitely lucky enough to scoop them all up. This one in particular, Casey really hit the nail on the head here. And I'm just going to bring the lamp up really quick. This cover rocked my face, you guys. This is issue 2 variant. Riker turning into a werewolf with Enterprise by a full moon. If that doesn't get any cooler this season, I don't know what does. But when I saw it, Casey pointed it out. I was like, dude, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. Oh, man. Such a sharp cover. But yeah, let's first of all talk about just cover value here really quick. So Casey, are you, as a collector, do you follow like previews, or do you just kind of come in and get surprised each week? How do you handle that typically for collecting?
For the most part, for me, it's usually just coming in and getting surprised by the covers out there. But in some cases, like with other things I collect, like the X-23 series that just came out a couple months ago, that one I saw in previews. So that's how I got excited about that one.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah. No, this one I was more of a holy smokes, this is happening and it looks like fun. And I've been on this scary comics kick for a minute. And Star Trek to me is always kind of fun. Plus, fun fact, the Borg was that First Contact movie. When I saw that when we were living over in Japan, I went to the theater with my brother, saw it, and I remember being so scared about the Borg on the way home that when you think about fear at a young age, this is something that resonates with me. So on cover A here, you see this dude looking like Jack the Ripper in the background as a Borg drone.
right.
A home run. I'm like, dude, I'm in. Let's go.
Right.
Then Casey brings up issue number 2. I'm like, okay, let's read the whole series. Let's review it. Let's have some fun with it. So I gotta say, there were variant covers on some of these. Casey, I believe you got some different ones from me for some of these as well. I know issue 2 we got the werewolf one, but other than that, I think we were kind of opposite for some of the covers out there. So first of all, shout out to Variety, right? Giving people their options. People tend to gravitate towards maybe a favorite character or whatever. Me, I'm all about the creepy Borg drone. So definitely for cover 1 or issue 1, cover A, cover B for issue 2. I went A, of course, for issue 3 because, of course, more Borg greatness. And then issue 4, of course, we only had cover B left in stock by the time I got out to the wall, and so definitely had to scoop it up because I wanted to finish out that story and get ready for reviewing this amazing tale amongst the stars. So, heck yeah. So I guess we should really get into it here tonight. With it being 4 issues and the fact that it's Holo-Ween, we aren't going to necessarily be flipping through a ton of pages or anything like that. But wanted to hear from you, Casey. Overall impressions of the book, just to start it off.
Are we going book by book or all 4?
We can do book by book if you want.
Okay. Well, in a lot of sense, the first book is a great introduction into the whole, like it reintroduces a character that you see in one of the series. Actually, in the original series, and then also you see in just different other series as well, and how it comes in to be Terror, and it like I said a little bit earlier, just a great introduction for this whole 4 stories that they have. And when we have a good introduction, it just lays the path for a good story.
Yeah.
So
yeah. One of my questions that I got from issue 1, again, we're setting the stage, we're learning about everything, was Red Jack in general. Right. Are you familiar with the history of this particular entity?
I am a little bit.
Okay.
I haven't seen the original series in forever.
Okay.
And I believe that they did mention Red Jack in the Next Generation as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And if this it sounds like it did certainly have presence in that original series based on the little nuggets we got from this series. And as that's the case, I freaking love that they did a call out to that, bringing what probably was like a B-list character from there. And I kind of sat back through this whole thing and said, Picard, you should have really let Q stay on crew. This would have
right,
been over.
right,
Like one panel, boom, resolved.
yep.
Or he would have kept him for entertainment. I don't know, but
Or like over his head, like looking like a ventriloquist or
little
puppeteer.
puppeteer.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, very good. Yeah. A couple of notes in here that I thought were really interesting. There was a discussion that was occurring about Halloween in general, right? To raise up the spirits of the crew.
Mhm.
And someone had mentioned that there's people still on Earth celebrating Halloween
Right,
as they're in space right now. But if they're referring to it as this archaic kind of thing and the principles of it are kind of foreign to them, and knowing that we're all in sync as a human species, whether we're on a starship or we're supporting the troops from the ground, what does that look like or feel like? Because to me, I was like, I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know what Earth is like, I guess, now that there's a federation. Does that make sense?
right,
And I don't know if that was maybe touched upon nearly enough. When you think about seasons of Picard now, people are living that civilian life, right?
right.
Uh, but, I guess I don't know. I
Well,
always thought everyone was just part of the federation.
right. Well, with that whole like some people understanding the holidays and some people not, it's more or less since as you can tell, this is with the Enterprise D. What you can understand from that is the fact that some of those crew members actually might have not been born or lived on Earth.
Hmm.
Like if I remember right, Riker in First Contact said that he lived on the moon
Okay.
or grew up on the moon. I might be quoting that wrong, but I believe that is what he said. Because there was Lake Armstrong, one of the major cities on the moon, and and then if you've seen like Star Trek from the 2009 reboot, Captain Kirk was born on a starship while escaping the Romulans destroying the ship his dad was commanding.
Hmm.
So, in a lot
Yeah,
of sense, if you're born on a ship, you're probably not going to understand a lot of the customs from your
that's fair.
species.
That's
So,
fair. That's fair. All right. Well, I saw it was really funny on Instagram when I posted that we were going to be talking about these books. I did get a comment saying, Halloween and Star Trek shouldn't be in the same sentence. He was totally being facetious. But I feel like just the writing on this and the artwork did a really fine job of
oh,
weaving in a theme of Halloween, truly, in an isolated setting that is the starship, and it really took me back again to First Contact on so many notes, and we'll get into that more with these later issues too. What else about issue 1 stood out to you?
actually, the one thing that stood out to me was in that same conversation about how Worf talked about his planet's version of Halloween.
Yeah,
And then that's what explains later on why he becomes what he becomes later on in the story.
yeah, yeah, which I thought was amazing, but we'll definitely get into that. Chad's weighing in here saying, "Join the red shirt army today. They're dying to have you."
Right.
That's terrible. Shout out to the red shirts.
Yeah.
Uh,
There was a meme a while ago that I saw that had Captain Kirk and Captain Picard arguing who was the better captain.
yeah.
And it like they were saying what each other did, and then the last line that Picard said before Kirk said, "I bow to you," was, "And I did it all in a red shirt."
Shoot. Oh man. Um, so just fast forwarding through the issue here a little bit, seeing two people rocking their time on the holodeck. This is recreation time now, right? We're simulating skiing of all things, which the technology to emulate that, holy smokes,
Yeah,
that's
can't wait
crazy,
till that actually happens.
right? But seeing them get taken hostage in the holodeck, that is such a crazy concept to me, and I dig it. I really do. I think that this was definitely it was perfect. They don't see it coming. They're isolated away from the rest of the crew, and it was crazy. It's the funniest thing, and I never pictured it being a place of terror, and here we are.
Right.
so, so it just I don't know, it just delighted me when that happened, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see where we're going here.
Right.
So Red Jack definitely, makes his appearance on here. The crew's starting to be like, whoa, we're starting to miss people. Um, this Lieutenant Block, let's talk about him really quick because informally, this is the main antagonist,
Right.
technically. Um, I gotta say, first of all, future performance reviews are not looking good for him on the Enterprise, based on the events of this book.
Yeah, he was a little too
Um,
full of himself.
I suppose, yeah. And it was a little crazy, just kind of watching him be used as basically a meat puppet, and I don't know, it was absolutely insane. Um, I will say, as we're going through these pages, that this really does feel like kind of a Troy centric story a little bit,
Hmm.
and I do like that she acknowledges her concerns about fear on the starship and how it's going to impact people on a very large scale. There were scenes throughout this book where people were coming to her needing counseling because of everything going on, because of how they were feeling.
Right.
And just seeing her resolve as a character was really endearing to me, because sometimes I don't know that the show did maybe as good a job as highlighting how strong she really is. I've seen a lot more moments in this series than I did on the show of that, where
Right.
she just really shows what she's made of. And I really, really, really appreciated that because I thought she was a great character.
Oh yeah.
Um, but basically saying things like, no, I can't let them know that they're weighing me down, So
Mhm.
it's one of those self-sacrifice things almost, where you just give a piece of yourself every 5 seconds to make sure people are doing all right. So
Right.
I thought that was really powerful.
Right. And have you seen Voyager at all?
I have, and
Yeah.
she should have been on there.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing on that is, like, how in this book, Barclay starts blaming himself for the whole thing, and basically it just reminds me of that back and forth
Yeah,
Troy and Barclay had in Voyager when he was having that issue with that girl he dated that was actually an employee of the Ferengi
yeah,
that tricked him and stuff. So
yeah. So yeah, so I definitely appreciated that. The other thing I really liked was that there was a point where Crusher was like, "Hey, Troy, we should totally team up and do medicine and counseling together," kind of thing, which I thought was super sharp. So I don't know. I like seeing the different departments
oh yeah.
unified to become solve the problem Tron. Um, so that's really the moments that stood out for me. I know that the shock value of seeing the Borg drones and stuff was cool and all, but a lot of it really was the setting of the stage is what really stood out to me the most. I will say, is this Guinan, right? With Whoopi's character.
Yep.
Um, I wanted to see more of her. That's all we saw.
Well, yeah,
So
and you thought that because, like,
one panel.
as it introduced, and I'm sure it'll say, since you're now opening up book 2, I think it says in this one, or maybe it's book 3, that what he uses to become a Borg is he takes the nanites and
Yeah,
then basically he controls it because he didn't let the nanites have full power.
right.
And so, trying to think of where I was going with this. um, but yeah, basically it was with the Borg. It's just like you'd think that Whoopi would be a part of the conversation, since she was a part of the original conversation when they first were introduced to the Borg.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. No, oh yeah, I forgot about this moment too. I love that Data slaps this guy around, so poor Block. But now Red Jack, right?
Yeah.
But I love that that's mysterious. That he cut off Data's head, like clean cut.
Right.
And then he's still talking anyways because Data's a boss. So I don't know. There were a lot of fun moments in this. I think that it just really goes to show that Red Jack definitely did his homework. Leading up to the end of this first issue, I was actually really impressed by that, and I love the setup for the takeover.
Right.
As a reader, knowing that it was 4 issues, I knew that there would probably be some resolution. However, there were some fun turns in these later issues here. So I suppose that's all about it for issue number 1. Feels good. I will say I really love and dug the artwork on this closing panel with Frankenstein Data. I thought that was absolutely hilarious, and I loved it. Plus the captive crew members, like, what is going on? And then the expanding holodeck kind of vibe that's going on in the background there. I like that.
Right.
So,
which they never truly explained in any of the books really on how Red Jack was doing that, how it expanded, unless that was just him tricking everybody with it still being the one holodeck.
Yeah.
It just emulated the hallway.
Yeah. There was a call out. I don't remember off the top of my head. Someone did mention that. I think it was in the war room. But I could be wrong on that too. I think there was a call out to that, but I'm not sure. On to the best cover of this whole series, issue 2. Definitely just, again, a lot of fun moments here. The crew is just really identifying what to do. We're doing our traditional security checkpoints, which we also did in First Contact, and we saw how well that worked. You would think we'd get some new game plans. But it was really kind of crazy to witness just more hopelessness across the decks. And why is it always deck 9? And that maybe that's a question more for just overall ship layout, but it always feels like it's one deck, all the other decks aren't mentioned, like nobody lives on them or something. I don't know. Like,
well, it's not so much that they don't live on them. It's just that deck 9's like probably kind of like your recreational deck. Like you got your holodecks. I wouldn't be surprised if Guinan's Bars 10 forward is on the same deck.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that recreational deck that everybody goes to but doesn't live on.
Yeah. I feel like her bar should be called 9 forward then, if that's okay.
Well, it's 10 forward is more of a naval thing, but
I was being dumb.
Let's
talk about the reveal here of their monstrous egos here. We got Troy mummified.
Right.
We got Riker werewolf. We got Worf, Aqua, Klingonian, monster awesomeness. And then we have Mr. Jekyll and Hyde and crazy eyebrows, Picard. Right. I had so many concerns about these eyebrows and how menacing he looks. And it was kind of funny, really. So I like this concept of the mental shift. And I really loved now that I'm doing lettering, I loved how they did a T-minus X amount of minutes as the book wore on, showing that time is of the essence. Let's get it done.
Right.
One thing that I will say is that they did their first round, they got out, and then they got back in, I want to say towards the end of issue 2, maybe issue 3. And that mechanic did maybe lose its impact a little bit for me, just because we've already seen it once. I understand why it happens, but I felt like maybe that was opportunity for like a different mechanic to be put in place. I don't know, but either way, I'm pretty delighted by what they put in here. I also have to say that out of the 4 characters, again, Troy stole the show. I mean, as the Mummy, I loved watching her get into character. I loved watching her get pulled out of character, but then have to act like she's in character to guide the rest of the troops. That was pretty cool, and it was an interesting direction on the Mummy.
Right.
I just was like, huh. So I don't know. Riker as a werewolf, yeah, absolutely. Picard as Mr. Jekyll and Hyde was more so entertaining than anything.
Well, the interesting thing about that is you could actually see that in the show, where there are some cases where he was Dr. Jekyll, and then all of a sudden, when he gets angry, he's like, I'm
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde. You're in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there's always the mirror. Was it the Mirror War universe, where there's not nice versions of them?
Yep. Every show has their own version of the Mirror universe.
So, are you from the books that you've read? This aquatic race that Worf has brought up and is now emulating.
Mm-hmm.
Has that ever been mentioned before from anything that you've encountered in print or on TV?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
But it when it comes to the shows and stuff like that, they might have mentioned it a little bit, maybe. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Like it seems like this was a special kind of thing that they did to include a Klingon's version of the monster of the Blue Lagoon.
Oh, sure.
So just because that's what he looks like, because that's what they emulated, especially on the fourth cover.
Sure.
And so
yeah,
so that way you had all four monsters.
Yeah. But truthfully, as we go through the issue, they're starting to solve it. I thought it was really interesting that we rescued not one, not two, but three different arcs of crew members.
Right.
Like this guy was taking hostages, capital H, and I thought that was pretty crazy. I will say that the dialogue in here, aside from Troy, I much preferred what was going on outside of the holodeck, just for seeing how the crew is coping with everything and adjusting, and I don't know, that's one mechanic I always enjoyed about Voyager, was they just made it work. It was like bubblegum and paper clips to keep the ship together, at times. And so that was always kind of interesting too. I really, really, really appreciated this call out to what you were saying, Red Jack controlling the Borg nanites, as well as maintaining the illusion and focusing his attack on the remaining monster-esque characters. And ultimately, they strive to basically spread them too thin. And I think that actually happens not in this issue, but issue 3.
Right.
And that, to me, was really kind of cool to see them start to piece it together and say, oh, let's try this instead. I've got to say that Data as Frankenstein was probably the most funny part of this whole thing, because he was just like, oh, this is fine. There's staples in my forehead. No problemo. It was pretty good. Tony's checking in with us, saying good evening to you, Tony, and happy Halloween. I keep forgetting it's actually Halloween night. So yeah, I really appreciated this. Issue 2 for you, where were you at in terms of when you got to the end of it? Were you kind of like, I know where this is going, or were you kind of like, what's going to happen next issue?
Well, I was wondering, especially with the last panel, when you see the people with the pitchforks and the fire, I thought that at least the beginning of the third issue was going to go in a somewhat different direction.
Right.
Like everybody's going to go crazy kind of thing, but ended up not really.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with just the whole issue with Picard being Hyde, just that one just, in my opinion, stole the show, just because of his arrogance as Mr. Hyde throughout the whole thing. Not even winking or blinking at the double-edged swords coming at him from Red Jack's arms.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, you cut my cape. Who cares? I'm going to hit you anyway.
That's awesome. Again, though, those eyebrows are just, they I don't know, they're fantastic. I'm totally blocking them out, but trust me, you'll have to get the issue, you guys. Issue 2, last panel, highly recommend it for the brows.
Oh, and another thing I liked was in this issue was, how Red Jack just sliced off Data's helmet or head.
Yeah.
Whereas Deanna in this one just ripped his head off.
Yes, and the wires connecting and everything. It would look like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Like, geez, goodness. All right, issue 3. Yeah. We are basically running away from the mob. And before that, we actually catch Dr. Crusher sending a SOS and stay away from us notice to the rest of the Federation. So again, it's really nice to see kind of the ramifications of this event from an operational standpoint. I always appreciate that. Just how what is the plan for something like this? Well, there it is. So that was pretty cool. This one again was kind of a duplicate for me, but I will say that there was one page in particular I really liked in terms of the combat, and that was this one. I really liked the layout of it, just visually speaking, and the orange. I might be a little biased, but I love just straight Halloween vibes here. We're battling in a cemetery. I mean, that's just fantastic. And it's fun. It's good fun. These are themes again that I thought that I would never ever see at Star Trek
Right.
of any sort. So I was pretty delighted by that.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about the page previous is if you look at the ghosts popping out of the ground on the right page.
Oh yeah.
Geordi, Guinan, Crusher, all the ones that aren't there
What?
are popping up out of the ground.
That's awesome, actually. I did not put that together. Whoops. Good call out.
Well, and just seeing that one that's between Geordi and Crusher is an angry version of Barclay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah, that's funny.
Can't think of him as angry, but that's
Right.
at least that's my opinion of who that is.
Right. Oh man. But again, I'm dropping my camera everywhere here. No, I definitely appreciate, again, just that strong orange. It's such a bold color choice, and I just love all the tombstones everywhere. This is fun. I was grinning when I was going through this one. Ultimately, this issue really brings us what feels like a resolution. And I found that to be the weirdest feeling ever because I knew that there was an issue 4 waiting to be read.
Right.
So I'm like, is the next issue going to be all lollipops? I'm not quite sure.
Well, that's when they had that little twist at the end. So.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Can we spoil the reveal in issue 3? Is that cool? It's been out for a couple weeks, but transporters were supposed to be locked down, says Geordi. However, there's something going on, and we saw a little mysterious ship, registering Dr. Crusher's notice, saying, "Yeah, that's interesting." And lo and behold, we're going OG Star Trek here. So we got this fine gentleman popping in, knowing a thing or two about teleportation tech. So this really, 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 really rocked my world. Geordi addresses him as Captain Montgomery Scott. Sir, of course, Red Jack once possessed you, which is where Casey and I are likely pulling in our confirmed theory is that this was the original series of some sort, in some capacity. I kind of want to go see the episode now.
Right.
Just to see how they depicted it. I don't know.
Well, supposedly, according to the I can't remember if it was mentioned in this one or the next one about how Red Jack controlled him. Yeah. And who knows? It might actually have been the original, the animated version of the original crew.
Oh, fair. Okay. Yeah. I always forget about that.
A lot of people forget about that one.
Is it awesome or?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. I will Google it. I want to learn more about this. There's another character we meet later that I want to learn more about too. But this is a really cool reveal, you guys. We're tying in old school with TGN, or TNG. Yeah, that. And it's kind of fun to see this FaceTime. This is stuff that doesn't happen too terribly often. So this was complete fan service, and definitely just kind of a fun nod. And really bringing some history to this character. Also, I got to say the writing on here is fantastic. Ye Lockout wasn't a challenge. Sorry, laddie. Just makes me happy because I can hear his voice and I'm like, right. Take me. Let's go. I want to go hang out on the Enterprise. Maybe not during this, but anyways, wanted to call that out just because I thought that was a really key moment, and he definitely plays an important role later.
Well, and for those people that actually haven't watched TNG, Montgomery Scott does actually make an appearance on that one. Okay. So this set of books must be set after that episode that he shows up.
Because they met already.
Because when he shows up in the episode, it's not that he doesn't know about the ship. It's just he's never been on the ship before. He's never been in a holodeck and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
So this is so this we kind of are going through it now. They've gotten him kind of knocked down a few pegs in terms of Red Jack / Block. He looks like he's weakened. And on the outside here, we're seeing the team kind of start to circle wagons, and I wanted to show this off because again, these are some really fun moments. Stupid lighting. With Scotty, Crusher, and Geordi kind of troubleshooting and identifying, what the heck is going on here. They assumed that Red Jack was neutralized. However, you and me were like, hey, there's an issue 4. Something's going on here. So what is up? And sure enough, he summons Armus, which this reveal, Casey, was lost on me. I did not know about this monster at all. This is someone else I want to get to know because it just sounds like a lot of fun.
right.
If it's from the old series,
he's actually, I believe, because of the emphasis of everybody being afraid of him on this one, I believe he and I actually did a little bit of looking up here real quick. He is actually from the Next Generation series.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Is it just one character or is it like a species?
Let me check. He was actually he's a byproduct of a procedure in which a race of Titans brought out from within themselves all evil and negative attributes.
Oh. Okay.
So basically, he's everybody's evil thoughts.
Wow. Red Jack's definitely making good friends. That's kind of a bummer. I will say that the reveal was a little lost on me. Visually, this page again was a lot of fun with just the kind of the cemetery vibe. I love that strong orange, and I love just the way that character pops with the green and black texture to it.
Right.
So I don't know. For me, I was kind of geeking out on that front, but the actual reveal of it, I was like, am I supposed to be shocked right now? I don't know how to feel about this. So that's issue 3. But issue 4, sporting this fantastic Wharf cover, first of all. I definitely got a kick out of that. And I will say that we just jump right into it, and it's a true continuation. As a reader, I do appreciate that too, when it's kind of that smooth transition of just boom, boom. And especially when you read them back to back like that, there's nothing worse than when the art style radically changes, unless the story calls for it.
Right.
So with this was a real smooth sail for me from start of series to end in terms of art and color and stuff. So I was very happy with that. Picard's rocking those crazy eyebrows again, doing his slashing. And it looks like Troy is just kind of being the voice of reason here. Issue 4 had a lot of cool things happen in it, though. So I suppose we should probably dissect some of that. First of all, we get the classic villain likes to talk and fill us in on his whole plan and how he's doing it, right? And so he's going through and just explaining, here's how I did this and that, and including what he describes as a simulated Armus, a puppet of deathly horror to entertain us all.
Well, if you notice within the first few frames, it shows he's taking all of his Borg technology he has in himself and is putting it into Armus.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And now he's looking all normal. Like I said, though, Block, yeah, you're restored and everything, but people are going to look at your face and see this for like the rest of your time on the Enterprise. Like you're going to be that guy. I'm so sorry. So
just don't wear a monocle.
Just don't wear a monocle or a top hat for that matter. Although I don't know, I kind of dig it. I personally liked him better with the Borg stuff, but that's okay. I will say that I thought it was kind of a hoot that the holodeck kind of bit them. They thought they rescued the last of the captives. That's definitely not the case. I really want to just give kudos to the artist team on this one for depicting the fading imagery of those crew members, because that is not them, and just kind of ghastly, really. So mad props there. He goes on to explain about how he's controlling Armus, and it's that classic, like, I do a gesture, Armus does the gesture.
Well, and just to give everybody a key, like in pages after that, you'll notice that Armus is getting around the ship, and supposedly he's supposed to be just a holographic image, which, as you saw with those people disappearing, what you don't notice is because of that Borg technology, this also is a reference to Voyager. Basically, that Borg technology became a personal emitter for Armus, so he could go across the ship.
Yeah. And we find ourselves back in the war room, and Scotty is weighing in now. And it's just really funny to watch them kind of troubleshoot and identify, well, what's the next plan? So what's the next plan, you ask? And we saw this one also in First Contact. Go big or go home. We're going to self-destruct the ship. Yeah. And and so I was like, oh, we're going there. We are absolutely going there. And he says, hey, I'm going to self-destruct the ship now, and does it. And Red Jack goes, I can wait. Like, that's my favorite line, I think, from him, because he just knows that this is all just a ruse. And so I can wait, followed by, what are you talking about? Well, one of my first system changes, additional time on the clock. So it's so funny just to see that Federation McGaffrey antivirus was expired at that point. I don't know, man. I have doubts, but I also think Red Jack probably would be able to hack some of that, I guess. I don't know.
Well, with the systems down, like when Barclay did whatever he did, or at least he thought he did.
Yeah.
That gave Red Jack the opportunity to go through all of the systems before he took over. So
yeah. This next page was actually one of my favorites. We're hearing from Troy of this issue. I mean, we're hearing from Troy, and it's just really depicting various stations and settings. Oh, there's Guinan. I lied. There she is. There's different settings, and Troy is really just talking about fear, terror, and how it's impacting the crew. I really like that because it just really showed families. It showed people at work, just different walks of life and everything, and it really just shows a true community here. Right. But ending with the line of, for the horror is the unknown depths. And she's looking real stretched thin at this point. So we're starting to hit our limits. And we have another person fly in. It's Reg again. He was one that needed counseling earlier. He's back. And she's like about to tell him, like, dude, can't we maybe book an appointment? Or I don't know. So she was going to try to put it off. He's apologizing, saying, dude, don't worry about it. I'll come see you later. And she kind of goes into this statement that I found really interesting. I just wanted to read it really quick. Experiencing fear is an essential part of mental development. Jump scares, roller coasters, and Halloween thrills are all a form of that, because we can then master it using tools Red Jack actually gave us. So I got a kick out of that, and appreciated that she's starting to kind of think on her feet a little bit. I would question the roller coasters portion of it, because I highly doubt that there's roller coasters during the time of the Federation. I could be wrong.
The holodeck lets you do whatever you want, so you could do a roller coaster.
Fair, because they were skiing, and I mean, again, it's just like,
go to Disney World on the ship. Yeah. Who cares about airplanes?
Yeah. So the team ends up kind of tricking Red Jack and luring him to the bridge with Armus in tow, which I thought was really interesting. A lot of good acting from Riker and Worf, a little confrontation there. We certainly didn't see any of that on the show, did we? I could hear their voices quite vividly. while they're preoccupied, Data's doing some sleuthing here, and he's rocking out in the holodeck and is able to actually rescue those poor crew members. They're hanging out in these 7 tall tombstones, and he proceeds to break them out and get them out. So that is amazing. This next scene was really just kind of crazy. The phaser fire, seeing the Armus, really the Borg nanites and various textures in action, I guess, blocking said phaser fire. This I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this scene, because I feel like this could have gone one of two ways. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, I guess, on this final confrontation with them before I throw my 2 cents in the ring?
Well, I thought it was an interesting way to just keep his attention.
Sure.
Just because that's that you see, if you watch the show, you see them do that a lot with trying to do that with different characters of just, hey, we need to do something to keep their attention. And in this case, being as dramatic as just firing the phasers straight at Red Jack and knowing that Arliss is going to block it.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was actually a pretty good way of showing the crew working together.
Yep. So. Yep, and that's fair. I think that luring him to the bridge, I thought was a questionable decision. I think there maybe were other non-strategic places that they could have brought him to and maybe gotten the same effect. I don't know, like 10 forward or, anywhere that's not tactical in terms of, hey, let's just give him the tour of the bridge. I don't know. I will say that this solution that Troy brought forward regarding him being composed of energy and all that, I don't know, this whole thing to me was kind of like, it's a bit of a stretch, only because it felt like if Red Jack was really invested, I think he was more curious than anything of what she had to say. The shock value of him seeing Scotty, I think, was a really cool moment, but the amount of dialogue that went on, I kind of question if he would have really waited that long or not, or if he just was more curious than anything to see what she had to say and what glimmer of hope she thought she had with that piece of technology, because he slapped down every other solution that they've done over these past 4 issues.
He tried to slap down that one too by saying you can't do that, not without specific knowledge.
Yeah. Which it turns out using Scotty, they had basically a perfect map of Red Jack, right, and his energy. Yep. And I thought that the call out to history was pretty cool. I think that seeing Armus fading in the background was actually really rewarding too. For me, I was like, yes, get rid of the tar thing. But I think Scotty's role in all this was very crazy cool. I'm really glad that they did it. I personally think that I, as a reader, was kind of missing out by not knowing the history of Red Jack first, because I think that this would have meant like 12 out of 10 for me as a Star Trek fan if I would have had that experience first. Sure. So part of me wants to go watch that. The rest of the issue I thought was pretty cool. Mr. Block gets returned to normal. He's going to be assessed. And they're basically, kind of wrapping up. But I wanted to call out one more thing, which was this final page here. I thought it was just downright hilarious that everyone's just kind of normal. And then you got Riker in the background with his werewolf mask, like the only one that kind of embraced his character. I love seeing the kids kind of trick-or-treating, though, and checking out Holo-Ween, because I can only imagine what it's like being a kiddo on a starship.
Right.
I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of like my time living on an Air Force base, where it's just a different environment. But yeah, I don't know. So ultimately, with this series, these 4 issues, and we'll put them all together. Casey, out of 5 jack-o'-lanterns, what is your rating this evening, and why?
In a lot of sense, just because it was an intriguing story. Loved all the covers. The art was great. The dialogue to me was very intriguing enough to keep it going. I'd probably say a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Okay.
And plus, my love for Star Trek kind of helped in that too. But
That's
overall,
awesome.
I with the bringing, like you said earlier, bringing in with the old with the new stuff like that as well, with Scotty helping out the crew.
Yeah.
And with the fact that I knew a lot of the background with some of this stuff made it awesome as well.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I just do have to point out in this page, where Deanna was talking.
Yeah.
So this one right here, even though it's not, it kind of reminds you of Wesley.
Oh, sure.
So you had to have that little Wesley Crusher in there somewhere, somehow, right?
Shout out to Will Wheaton. That's what we got. I definitely am along those lines as well. If I were to give it out of 5 jack-o'-lantern rating this evening, I would probably go a strong 4 for me. If I had a chance to watch the Red Jack episode and reread it next Halloween, I probably would be closer to that 4.5, I think. Art-wise, I was very delighted by this. It was smooth storytelling for me. It's just kind of, I want to get more familiar with some of the concepts that are mentioned, and so that's more on me than on the book, I would say. But
sure.
But from pure enjoyment, I would just give it a 4, and just because of that reason. So
yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, I am really glad that you twisted my arm with that number 2 variant. Dang it. This was a fun one to read, though, and on Halloween of all days, too. That's pretty awesome. I got my pumpkin tie on here.
Nice.
For sure. So rocking out this evening. But for everyone that's tuning in, thank you guys so much for rocking and rolling with us and spending time on Halloween nights just to talk some comics. And thank you to you, Casey, for rocking and rolling too. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But before I do, I got to do the second intro / outro. So let me roll that really quick, and then we'll shut her down. Just one sec here. I love that video, man. And shout out again to Casey for spending Halloween night with us and talking some Star Trek and bringing your expertise, man, because I'm a total newbie face when it comes to that. But on the Rainbow side of things, you guys, this is Comics by Night, proudly sponsored by Rainbow Comics. And tomorrow on Rainbow, you'll see Casey and I hanging out anyways, talking about comics on Rainbow Live. So be sure to tune in then, usually around 5:36-ish, somewhere in there. So we'll get it done. And I guess happy Halloween to all of you, and make sure to spend the rest of the day with loved ones, and stay up late, watch lots of scary movies, and kick off November rights with a stream. So we will see you guys tomorrow on the Rainbow Live show. Casey, thank you so much for your time, and we will be back with you soon for Comics by Night. All right, we'll see you guys next time. And then I hit the end button, and then it